One of the privileges of having a museum is I can put my trophies on display. Most riders, unfortunately, their trophies end up in the roof space, which is very sad, but quite amazing when you think that probably every trophy has got 50 or 60 racing miles in it. And if you add all that up, you get quite a long racing career.
I'm, from time to time, the curator of the Sammy Miller Motorcycle Museum. What would you like to know about Sammy?
I've been involved in motorcycles for probably 70 years.
I think he might be 81 this year. But he doesn't celebrate birthdays, so we never know really.
There's nothing gives me more delight than riding or practicing or working at motorcycles. It's been a way of life, and I'm a very fortunate person to be able to still carry on and work and enjoy riding bikes, especially when you come into the Norton Gallery here, where as a small boy in Belfast, a lot of these bikes were made by the McCandless and Artie Bell in Belfast at Woodstock Road. Really, Norton Development Shop was in Belfast because of the high-tech engineering and specialists.
I've known of Sammy before because obviously having been involved in, or being involved in motorcycles for getting on for 50 years, or over 50 years should we say, you know, Sammy Miller has been part of that motorcycling scene for all that time.
Well, it was a lifetime's ambition to have, after riding push bikes for many years, whenever you got a bit of horsepower and you actually were controlling the speed you were going by the twist grip, that was something special. And to win my first race was again very special on my 150 New Imperial in 1953 when I won the Temple Grass Track 250 race on a little 150 overhead valve New Imperial. The start of good career, start of a very happy relationship with motorcycles.
He's obviously a very successful road racer, trials rider, development engineer, and now museum owner.
The museum is a lovely passion, as it were. It's a trust, so it's run by trustees, and I enjoy working on these bikes, and there's nothing more really satisfying than after you get a wreck that comes in, you rebuild it, we take it out into the courtyard, and it may start first time or it may start second kick, but when it comes to life, it's like another bike back on the road, another epic classic being admired, which you can use and ride and do rallies or do parades on, so that is very satisfying.
I call it the ultimate classic, the V8 Motor Guzzi 8-cylinder, and they were only really developing it in '57, and it was starting to win races. Bill Lomas, Dickie Dale in '58, Motor Guzzi, Mondial, Gillier all decided to pull out of racing, too expensive, and that left one factory left, MV, and private Norton. So if you were a John Surtees with a Works MV against a load of private Nortons, it was quite a easy race for you.
Favourite Italian bike? I'm a big Ducati fan, I always have been.
Yeah, my name is Chris Carlton, and I'm the Dorset branch rep for the Ducati Owners Club.
They're just beautifully made, especially with a dry clutch on the newer ones. Some people say they sound broken, but to me they just sound perfect.
Just for me, the whole riding experience of the Ducatis. I've had other bikes, I've had Japanese bikes and all sorts of different bikes over a long time, and there's something very special about the Ducati to ride, and you become part of something bigger. It's not just about ownership of the bike, you become part of a big family, so that to me is very special as well. So.
Yeah, well, my name's David Borer. I live in a little village called Hemmingford Abbots, which is near St Ives in Cambridgeshire, and I'm just sad about motorbikes. As you are. I've got lots. Got about 50 bikes. So, mainly Italian, some English, and one German bike, and a couple of Japanese, but mainly Italians. They're lovely. They've got such pure style and form. Wonderful things. Didn't think along those lines. They just thought alongside shape. They just designed this wonderfully shaped engine. They'd style all the toolboxes and the rest of it and spend a fortune, making tooling and pressing and that sort of thing, and put this thing together and think, oh dear, this is going to cost us far too much. Then they'd put cheap paintwork on, cheap chrome plating on, because they'd lost all of the costs in the developing and in the design of the thing. But the pure style and the shape and form, Italian bikes just beat everything. There's just no comparison. Oh, yeah, and it's form over function, because the Italians are good at that.
And certainly to achieve this, you know, he took these buildings on, getting on for over 20 years ago now, and it was a derelict farm. And if you look now, you can see how much passion he's put into it.
When you get a bike that's known by its nickname, as it were, that is when you've made something special. Like the Porcupine, everybody calls the AJS the Porcupine, or the Lighthouse, or the Gold Flash, and the Gold Star, again, BSA Gold Star, where you don't say BSA, it's Gold Star. So you've made an icon. If you're called the Black Knight Vincent, it's an icon when it's named by its passion, as it were. One of the latest projects we've got, this is Rough Superior, a Brooklands Rough Superior that was raced at Brooklands 1925. That's a photograph of one of the famous racers, Joe Wright, on board the Rough Superior. 1000cc V-twin. It's got castle forks, which was unique for Brough. Rigid back end, 3-speed Sturmey Archer gearbox. As you see, there's a fair bit of work going on, a lot more to do, but we hope to use this at we'll hope to use this at Goodwood for the Festival of Speed, and also Chummerley up in Cheshire. Bike probably started everything. This was the SHS, the Samuel Hamilton Special. This is a little bike I built when I was 16, 17 years old, and won my first races with. That's a photograph of myself on the Scottish Six Day when I got the second best newcomers award, the Ben Nevis Trophy.
Oh, totally, because I mean, you're not, shall we say, the average guy to achieve what he's achieved. You've got to have a little bit of an edge.
Say when you're ready. You want to ask me what's this bike then? Lead on.
So what's this bike and what's the story behind this bike?
This is my Grand Prix Mondial 250 double overhead cam, which was third in the World Championship on in 1957.
And yeah, he is quite inspirational to an awful lot of bikers.
But this was a wonderful bike to ride, and of course all the Grand Prix, Monza, German, Isle of Man.
Well, I think you'd find any businessman or entrepreneur that's achieved a lot isn't the average guy, is he? He's always going to have a little bit more about him.
Up until 57 we used these full fairings for streamlining. It gave an awful lot of extra speed, but they were banned in 57 because they were so dangerous. Side winds were blowing riders off the course and many fatalities, so after 57 the FIM banned the full fairings and we went back to what we call the dolphin type fairing on the Kawasaki here.
And you know, if you look at the likes of Virgin's, I can't think of his name now. Who's the guy that runs Virgin? Richard Branson. You know, you look at Richard Branson, he puts on a very calm face, but I should think there's a lot of thrashing around behind the scenes. People like Alan Sugar, you know, he's not going to be an average chap, is he? And much the same, any successful businessman is going to have an edge.
When I went out to Honda, to work at Honda at the factory, they were very methodical, very slow. Everything had to be so precise. Committing to decide whether you change the main jets or what you did, and everything was slow, not Miller style at all. So we decided that we wanted to alter the head angle. So they said, well, we will design a new frame and you can come back in 3 months to Tokyo. And I said, have you got hacksaw? I hacksawed through the frame, hit it against the wall, straightened it up, welded it up, was testing before the engine was cold. And these Japanese little mechanics were totally horrified. But afterwards they said, Miller-san, you fast worker. So we altered the head angle in an hour. whereas they were going to take 3 months. To ride a motorcycle is a great freedom, a great sense of achievement and balance and freedom, and to race a motorcycle is something very special. It's just you, the bike, against the course. And I've ridden at Daytona, not raced, but I've just practiced there, and riding the banking and something on a fantastic machine. There's no compromise. It's the best feeling in the world.
If you're riding a motorcycle, control is your number one thing to do, irrespective of whether you're road racing, trials riding, or riding on the roads. You've got to be ahead of the game, and you've got to be totally in control. Otherwise, you won't last long, whether it be racing or on the road. It's just something that is fundamental to enjoying motorcycling.
I don't feel like a heartless me. I don't feel like a heartless me. Yeah, I don't feel like a heartless me. I don't feel like a heartless me. And I come along, but you don't know where. I'm the one to find you, you know what you have done. I'm the one to find you, I know what you want to do. The stars are full with the brightening light. Each night I will meet you, ready to fight. And I don't feel like a heartless me. I don't feel like a heartless me. Yeah, I don't feel like a heartless me. I don't feel like a heartless me. And I come along, but you don't know where.
The Ladies' Shield, another sterling effort by Shirley Blake, number 14. Well done, Shirley. Well done, Shirley. Terrific performance. Action. You're in a movie, Shirley.
Yes, you are. I'm 83 years of old and I've had 6 children, and I started riding bikes when my children were sort of growing up a bit more. I've ridden all sorts of bikes over the years. I used to ride a green nut in UT 1920 for years. I was up on tiptoe on it, so my husband was talking to a friend to buy a bike, and he came up with this cotton, and I can now ride it and put my feet on the ground. Well, some people like riding bikes, they all start and then they give up after a few years, but I tend to go on. Some days it feels better than other days, you know, just up and you're away.
Well done, Mike.
The Wolf was bought brand new in January 1914, and I think it was used very briefly. The gentleman that bought it enlisted in the army, as umpteen million other people did. He put it down in his cellar. He filled everything with oil, the petrol tank, everything was, the carburetor, everything was full of oil, and went off to war. And he was killed in October of that year, so the bike never got used. And for some reason, the little cottages that are on top of the cellars, there were 6 of them, were condemned in 1926 and duly demolished. And it was tarmacked over with, I don't know, 6 inches of tarmac, and it became a car park for the next 60 odd years. And the council decided they were going to sell it. They sold it off for development, and it was bought for office blocks. And a friend of mine went in there with he was a JCB driver, to dig the footings out for the office block, and the digger fell into where the cellars were. Nobody knew they were there. Anyway, Julia got the digger out and opened it up, and the bike was down in the cellar, underwater, or under half water. The rats had ate leather, and anything they could eat had been eaten. And his foreman said, "Try it and skip, it's not worth anything." And he said, "No, I know a chap that would like that," so he brought it home and I duly had it. Sam wanted it for the museum, and I said no. It was made to be ridden, and I'm going to write it. These old ones have a character. They've all got character. The modern ones, they don't do anything for me, I'm afraid. I've had all sorts of motorbikes over my years, hundreds of them. The older they are, the more fascinating they become.
Any person who enters into any sport, their enthusiasm will reap the rewards. The practice you put in, the effort you put in, your enthusiasm, and how devoted you are. You can't, if you go in half-hearted and not with determination, you won't succeed. So it's determination, passion, and enthusiasm.
In life generally, or regards, well, in life generally, much the same as motorcycling. Do it while you can. You know, so many people sit back and think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Because sometimes tomorrow doesn't come. You know, you need to get out and do it. So that's my view on life and wisdom, if you like.
Looking back on your career,
Is there anything that you would change or redo or would like to have another chance at?
I would probably change. In '58, when all the works teams pulled out of Grand Prix racing, Mondial pulled out, Gilera pulled out, Budaguzzi pulled out, so there was no real factory bikes. So then I decided I would go trials riding with the Aerial factory, which proved very successful. But I didn't know that in '59 the Japanese were going to come over to the Grand Prix scene, and I'm sure if I'd have hung in for another year, I would have got a works Honda ride or a Suzuki ride or a Yamaha ride, and probably carried on with more success in Grand Prix racing. But as time, I just decided to go trials riding, so I went trials riding, and proved quite successful.